Well, we're going to get started here right now talking about biofuel technology. We're going to discuss the fuel, vehicles, greenhouse gases, economics, and opponents to using biofuel technology. And each of my group members will introduce themselves. My name is Ed Browne, and I'll start off here with a little bit of history of biofuels and biofuel technology. Biofuels have been around since the 1800s. Henry Ford's Model T was designed to run on corn-based ethanol. Political and economic pressures from the oil barons of the 20s and 30s prevented the useful applications of ethanol from taking hold in the United States, although it's been a regional event for quite some time. Farmers were using ethanol and biodiesel in their tractors early in the 20th century. During the oil embargoes of the 1970s, interest increased again in biofuels research. During that time, there were long lines at the gas pumps. Most of you weren't around then, but for those that were, and if you were driving, I'm sure you appreciated that having that opportunity to sit in line for hours while you waited to get a tank full of gas. Moving along into the 1980s, research was done using waste cooking oil by a professor at the Colorado State School of Mines. He retrieved some waste cooking oil from a McDonald's in Colorado to create replacement for diesel fuel. He originally called his creation McDiesel, but it was eventually called biodiesel to avoid legal entanglements with the clown. McDonald's was willing to sue over just that name, even though if they'd had a McDonald's with a biodiesel station, they'd have made twice the money they make on a Big Mac. Use of biodiesel B100 in the 1993 Dodge pickup in a test ran for 90,000 miles with no major engine damage. A later test using another pickup truck, and I believe it was a Chevrolet, ran for over 100,000 miles. Ford wasn't involved in these tests. As a result of world political developments in the Middle East, issues of availability of oil in the future, U.S. and many other countries are proceeding with plans to increase production of biofuels. This includes bioethanol and other fuel sources from materials such as wood chips, wood bark, sawgrass, and prairie grass, as was talked about earlier, and switchgrass, which is a grass that's grown here in the Midwest and in other parts of the country that has a high heating potential and is an excellent source of biomass for creating biodiesel and bioethanol. New technologies such as harvesting switchgrass, wood chips, and other biomass products are going to improve the possibilities of using these feedstocks to create bioethanol by 2025. Okay, the fuels. What are biofuels? Biofuels are energy resources produced from plant and other biological matter, animal fats, cooking oils that are renewable and sustainable. The biggest problem with using petroleum-based products is that it is not a renewable resource. It's running out, costs are going up drastically, and before long there'll be major conflicts just over oil, as we're seeing now in the Middle East. Current biofuels include ethanol and bioethanol, biodiesel, recycled vegetable oils, and methanol gasoline blends. There are others that are under development. I'm in the process of doing graduate studies on another material called ethyl acetate that we're hoping will reduce greenhouse gas emissions in gasoline engines and possibly be another blended fuel similar to what we're doing with ethanol now. Biofuels account for only 3% of the total U.S. energy usage compared to Brazil. Brazil uses approximately 90% of its energy needs through sugarcane processed biofuels. Ryan?
My name is Ryan DeVries, and I am going to talk to you very briefly about the technology used in the biofuels for vehicles, actually, how it uses it, and so on and so forth. One of the attributes of biofuels is its lubrication properties. It has very good lubrication, which reduces the wear and tear on the vehicle, the engine more or less, to give you longer life of the engine. In comparison to petroleum, there isn't any sulfur additives for the lubrication. It is purely methanol that provides this lubrication. So there's no sulfur additives, which contribute to the greenhouse gases and depletion of the ozone and so on and so forth, a bunch of other economical considerations. One technology that is used to make this biofuel is called esterification. Basically, this process starts with a triglyceride, which is formerly known as vegetable oil, and in the process it is combined with an alcohol agent known as methanol. During the transition process, the methanol replaces the glycerin molecule, in turn makes methanol esters. The final product is known as fatty acid methanol esters, known to us as biodiesel. So one question is what kind of car, or can any car run off of these type of fuels? And it depends. With biodiesels, they are not as corrosive as your E85 or ethanol-based fuels. So a lot of your current your diesel engines can run off of biodiesels. Your ethanol-based fuels, like your E85, cannot, because they are more corrosive, so they need special materials for your gas line tanks, your injectors, so on and so forth. So that's just a brief overview of the technology that's used and why that certain fuels can be ran in current cars.
Hi, I'm Prashanth. I'm going to talk about greenhouse gases and global warming. What is greenhouse effect? When the sun's radiations enter into the atmosphere, some of them are reflected back through the atmosphere, and some are reflected back from the surface of the earth. But most of them are absorbed by the earth, and the earth emits the infrared radiations. These infrared radiations are escaped from the atmosphere, and some of the infrared radiations are captured by the atmosphere, and the infrared radiations which are captured by the atmosphere are they are done by greenhouse gases, and some of the greenhouse gases which are here are natural. Some of the greenhouse gases are naturally occurring greenhouse gases. They are water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide, and nitrous oxide, and some are human activities also become a source for the greenhouse gases, such as burning fossil fuels, deforestation, agricultural activities, use of chlorofluorocarbons in refrigerators. In the US, greenhouse gas emissions come mostly from energy use. These are driven largely by the economic growth, fuel use for electricity generation, and weather patterns, affecting heat and cooling needs. Scientists estimate that the global temperature will increase by 1.4 degrees to 5.8 degrees Celsius by the year 2100. And the effects of global temperature increase are the sea level rises, which causes flooding, and the salt water reaches inland, which reduces the supply for fresh water. And many poor people who depend on the land for subsistence living, and many endangered species would become extinct as rising temperature changes habitat, and certain vector-borne diseases carried by animals and insects such as malaria would become widespread. And to reduce the greenhouse emissions, many programs are started. One of the program is Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. And the next is continued.
Hi, I'm Satish and I'm going to discuss about the economic and social issues of using biofuels. As we know that everything has good and also bad. So I would like to discuss some good things and also bad things. The main advantages of using the biofuels is that the current vehicles which are running on biofuels can easily be modified, and it recycles the CO2 which is presently in atmosphere. That means it does not add to the content of the CO2 which is present in the atmosphere. And biofuels plants add jobs to the economies of the host countries. Some biofuel costs have been reduced to be competitive with the petroleum based fuels. And when it comes to the negative impacts of using biofuels, it increases the chemical pollution, decreased biodiversity due to alteration of habitat due to agriculture. It also decreases the quality of water and erosion due to the forest harvesting, degradation of the social quality and productivity.
Hi, I'm Mike, and I'm going to speak a little bit about the opposition to the use of biofuels, the ecological impact. Some of the opponents argue there's been studies that question whether more energy is used to make ethanol than is actually gained. Also, there's some question on the CO2 reduction levels. Studies have shown that really they're marginal at best. There's a decrease in arable cropland available for food crops, possible desertification, which is actually going on now in China, Afghanistan, North Africa, and some parts of South America. Along with this, there's a question about the further encroachment on the rainforest and habitats as land's cleared to put in the grain crops for the ethanol. There's economic impact on the food supply. Not only we're talking the increase of corn, rice. With that increase, there'll be an increase across the board for meat. One of the things I saw was we're pitting the filling station against the corner grocery market. There's lower crop yields reduced to the food stocks of poor countries. There's concern right now whether we can feed the people of the world the way it is, and now we're going to be turning that into fuel. That's it. Do this one. What was it? I can do that one. You can do that.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay, the future of biofuel technology. Biofuel technology seems to be bright future as people change their views on environmental stewardship. The need for sustainable and renewable fuels will spur on technology to improve processes, infrastructure, and agricultural necessary to provide for future fuel needs as well as world food needs. Development of new sources of biomass feedstocks like the switchgrass, wood chips, and cellulose-based biofuels will reduce the current use of food source crops for biofuels. And the U.S. Department of Energy wants the U.S. biofuels usage to increase from 3% currently to 30% by 2025. Of course, there's going to be the need for government and private sector to support and funding is needed to meet this goal. Conclusions.
In conclusion, we believe that biofuel technology has a long way to go before it is considered the fuel of the future. Many problems are ahead, must be addressed, or we risk creating an even worse environmental problem than global warming, and that is starvation. Tough decisions must be made. Governments and industries have to support the initiatives in solving the problems before biofuels can become the replacement for petroleum. Without worldwide effort, biofuels will remain a regional solution to a global problem. Thank you for your support. Any questions?
You did very well.
Thank you.